What is a library? Some say it's a building full of books. Some say it's a place to get information. Some may even say the library is outdated and computers do everything a library does. But computers are not people. Computers cannot help you find the best information. Computers are not a community. Libraries are a space where people get together and learn from one another. Learn from librarians, teach workshops, share stories, and sometimes just hang out. The community the library is in is driving what the library is. Does your small town want to archive stories from its eldest generation? The library can do that. Does your community want to learn how to use emerging technologies? Your library can do that. Do you just want to talk about Stephen King and drink coffee? Your library can do that too. The role as a community center, a community education and information center, is what the new library is. So what does this mean for librarians? That means they too are changing. They are programmers, tech wizards, catalogers, archivists, teachers, specialists, multitaskers, and come from a huge swath of knowledge backgrounds. Librarians are here to teach you, to help you find the best information out there, and to listen to the community they serve. How do I know libraries are changing? I made this video in a library, with a camera, from the library, on a computer, in a library, with software provided by the library. This is active and engaged learning, and the library allowed me to do this.
Checking out a bird mount or a skull or a fish mount is just like checking out a book. You present your library card, we scan it, it's due in 2 weeks, and it's just like checking out a book.
This is the Alaska Resources Library and Information Services, and we're in the room that holds the furs, mounts, and skulls in our collection. Many of the items are available for the public.
The focus of the collection is Alaskan animals, birds, and fish. I'd say there are hundreds of furs, probably 50 bird mounts, and hundreds of skulls.
This has a walrus skull, which is kind of interesting. It's got teeth behind the tusks. I didn't realize that until I got to look at the skull. It was pretty cool.
The bear furs are the really popular. Well, bear, lynx, and wolf. When people encounter this collection, they are delighted. They ooh and ah. It sparks their imagination. They love having all the choice of the different types of items that we have. People who check out these items really vary, mainly teachers for their Alaska animal component of their curriculum.
I don't know of anywhere else that they can borrow a mounted sandhill crane and just study it up close. It's a very unusual program.
Can I help you? Yes, I'm looking for a book. Shh, this is the library. You have to be quiet. What book are you looking for? A one about dragons. Dragons. Let me see. All right, it's just down this aisle here. I'll let you choose a dragon book. What book do you want? About dragons. I don't know. Shh. This is the librarian. You have to be quiet. Now, which book do you want? What about a bus that has a gun on the side of it? You said you wanted dragons. I did not. Yes, you did. Now be quiet. I'll show you the aisle. Here are books with buses and guns on the side of them. Thanks! Shh. You're welcome. Cool, it's squishing a zombie. Then it landed on spikes. Cool. And then it landed on a house? What's that supposed to mean? A dragon? A zombie? A dragon and a zombie? This is the library. And a gun and a laser? If you do that one more time, you have to get out of the library without a book, okay? Okay! Okay! Be quiet. Okay. Can I borrow this book? Sure. Thank you! Be quiet!
Hello, welcome to the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress is the largest library in the world.
Located in Washington, D.C., this collection of over 160 million items is a vast archive of the history of the United States. There are over 70 special collections that include rare manuscripts, maps, sheet music, and much more.
Hello, I'm Helena Zinkham, Director for Collections and also Chief of the Prints and Photographs Division. This collection of pictures numbers more than 15 million. Among the rarest pictures in our collection, we have the migrant mother, the iconic woman representing the entire Great Depression. The pictures bring people together. They invite you in to look around and explore worlds that you might never be able to see in person.
Hello, I am Paulette Hazier. I am the Chief of the Geography and Map Division. We have 5.5 million maps, 80,000 atlases, 500 globes. So we have Lewis and Clark's maps, George Washington's maps. We have the first map that shows the name America on it. We're part of the bigger, broader world. And as we look at some of these cartographic evidence of the changes over time, it's a realization that we as a nation have changed over time.
Hi, I'm Sue Vita, the Chief of the Music Division. There are about 24 million items in the music collection. We have Stradivari instruments. We have the original Rhapsody in Blue, the original edition of the Star-Spangled Banner. Music tells us more about who we are and tells us about our past and our future.
Hi, my name is Michael North, and I'm Head of Reference and Reader Services in the Rare Book and Special Collections Division at the Library of Congress. This collection holds over 800,000 items. We have everything from medieval manuscripts, early printed books, the libraries of Thomas Jefferson. One of our most famous books is the Gutenberg Bible. It's important to have a record of the past so that we know how we came to be where we are today, both in terms of ideas and in terms of history, politics, art, everything.
Hi, I'm Malia Walker. I'm a reference librarian in the Serial and Government Publications Division. This collection is massive. We have 800,000 reels of microfilm. We have about 7.2 million loose issues of newspapers and approximately 42,000 volumes of bound newspaper pages. We also have about 140,000 issues of comic books. One of the great things about reading newspapers is that you get a sense of what it's like to be an American. You are reading how people lived the history itself.
Collections are our way of adding memory and remembrances. All of the collections give meaning and context to the human experience and the history of culture.
Bill, there needs to be organization in the library. Use numbers 1, 2, 3 and name that system after me. My name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. Hi, my name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. My Dewey Decimal System classifies information, son. My Dewey Decimal System organizes information, son. My Dewey Decimal System is so very easy to use. My Dewey Decimal System. Here is what you got to do. Say 0, 0, 0. 0, 0, 0. Generalities like bibliography. Say 100. 100. Philosophy, psychology. Say 200. 200. Religion like the Bible. Say 300. 300. Social sciences like political science. Say 400. 400. Language like Spanish. Say 500. 500. Natural sciences like astronomy. Say 600. 600. Technology like engineering. Say 700. 700. Artistic stuff like photography. Say 800. 800. Literature like French literature. Say 900. 900. Geography, history. My name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. Hi, my name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. But Melville, can you tell me where to find info on sharks, please? Yeah, I can. No problem. I type it into my computer and kablam! 597.3 sharks. But Melville, can you tell me where to find info on Italian recipes? Yeah, I can. No problem. I type it into my computer and kablam! 641.8 Italian recipes. But Dewey, can you tell me where to find info on the Titanic, please? Yeah, I can. No problem. I type it into my computer and kablam! 910 Titanic history. My name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. Hi, my name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing? If you need info, you know where to go. Go to your library. My name is Melville Dewey. Nice to meet ya. How you doing?
With unique mirrors creating the illusion of infinite books, this Chinese library and bookstore is every story lover's dream come true. While this may look like an ordinary shop from the outside, inside, readers are invited to settle in for an otherworldly storytelling adventure. The Black Mirror floor is one of two distinct design elements. The mirrors create the illusion of a mirage, meant to symbolize water, which has a long-held significance in Yangzhou culture. In the past, famous authors and poets gathered by the canals in this Chinese town. Secondly, the arched ceilings link throughout the library, which represent the connection between people and books. Zhong Shuge cherishes Yangzhou's history while embracing the future head-on by creating a space for the next generation of readers to thrive. The soft lighting and flowing shapes set a mood meant to entice the literary curious to settle in for a storytelling adventure.
Gotta dry my mockies! See you later, blue thing!
Who wears moccasins? That's your complaint? Who uses appliances in a library?
Zip it! Enough with the tomfoolery! This is a
commonplace. No, the library!
For the love of solitude, stop talking! What does this say? I said, what does this say?
Quiet?
Stop talking! Ugh. I need to go to a quiet, relaxing place.
What do you call a group of cats?
Oh, let me check on that. It's called a clouder of cats.
If you have a question, any question, there's a number you can call.
917-275-6975.
And a librarian at the New York Public Library will try to answer it for you.
Hello, thanks for calling Ask NYPL.
We have 10 librarians on a team, and we answer any question that you may have over the telephone. In the office today, we have Matthew, Bernard, Serena, Diane, and me. Our department, Ask NYPL, began in 1967. We started answering questions over the telephone, but people have been reaching out to librarians for as long as there have been libraries.
The New York Public Library has actually saved records of some of the more interesting questions they've been asked over the years. Like, is there a full moon every night in Acapulco? Why do 18th century English paintings have so many squirrels in them, and how do they tame them so they wouldn't bite the painter? Are Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates one and the same person? In a world of Google, it's a bit surprising to know that they get around 30,000 calls per year. My question is, why?
Oftentimes people might not have access to the technology at home, and I honestly think some just want somebody to talk to.
So the next time you have a question, like, how many teeth does a great white shark have? You can call this number.
917-275-6975.
That'll ring inside of this building, up on this floor, and maybe Bernard or Rosa will pick up, and they'll answer it for you.
They have about 300 serrated teeth.
Over time, comic books have become one of the most defining American art forms. But where did they get their start? Who actually invented comic books? Let's find out on today's episode of Colossal Question. It might seem like comic books are a modern marvel, but it turns out they trace their origins farther back than you might expect. The very first comic book ever printed was published in Europe back in 1837. Scholars say the comic book was called The Adventures of Obadiah Oldbuck, written by a Swiss author named Rudolf Topfer. It looked more like a picture book than what we think of as a classic comic, yet it's widely credited with paving the way for newspaper strips and comics, which followed in its footsteps. Comic books didn't make their way to the United States until 1933. The first one was called Funnies on Parade, and it was made up entirely of reprinted newspaper comic strips of the day. It proved popular and quickly led to the publication of other newspaper comic strips in book form. As interest and demand from the public grew and grew, writers and artists started inventing characters to star in these newly popular comic books. In 1938, the golden age of comic books officially began after two friends named Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created a new character called Superman in Action Comics #1. The popularity of Superman made the superhero the defining genre of American comic books. And other heroes soon followed. Batman debuted a year later in a 1939 issue of Detective Comics. The Flash dashed onto the scene in 1940, and Captain America, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman all joined the superhero ranks in 1941. But by the start of the 1950s, interest in superhero comic books started to decline. TV had just been invented, and people were shifting in droves from reading books and comics to watching TV instead. But by the 1960s and 70s, a new wave of superhero interest, called the Silver Age of comic books, swept the nation, and we've never really looked back since. Today, it's hard to imagine a movie theater or toy store not chock full of movies and toys about superheroes. And one thing seems for certain, comic book superheroes are here to stay.
This library is full of historic treasures. The Trinity Library in Dublin, Ireland was founded in 1592 and remains the largest library in the country. Its most famous area is the Long Room. This 213-foot room houses 200,000 of the library's oldest books. The room is lined with marble busts, many of great philosophers, writers, and people who supported the college. The Long Room is also home to one of the last remaining copies of the 1916 proclamation of the Irish Republic, the Trinity College Harp, which is from the 15th century, and the Book of Kells, an illuminated manuscript of the Four Gospels that is from the 8th century. It is the largest library in Ireland, and as a copyright library, it can obtain books and materials published in Ireland for free. It is the only library in the country to hold this right.
There's no better way to spend a cold, rainy day than curled up with a book you love. But who actually invented books in the first place? Let's find out on today's episode of Colossal Question. The very first forms of writing date back almost 6,000 years ago to an ancient people called the Sumerians, who started etching in their early alphabet into moist clay tablets using a triangular tool called a calamus. The clay was then fired in a kiln to harden. This new ability, writing things down, proved to be popular, and for the next 1,000 or so years, tablets were the only good way to do it. That's until papyrus scrolls came along. The oldest known scrolls date back to ancient Egypt, almost 4,500 years ago. Papyrus is a thick material made from thin strands of papyrus plant stem glued together that's more like a fabric than a paper. This was an upgrade from the heavy clay tablets, but scrolls still weren't simple. They were usually between 10 and 50 feet long and usually took 2 hands to use because they were so heavy. The papyrus would also crack easily, but before long, the Romans had a solution. They created the codex, which sounds like a secret gadget, but is just a series of scrolls that were bound together and opened like a book. The wooden covers protected the pages, which were now made from a material called parchment, made from animal skins. Over in China, the earliest books were made of thin pieces of bamboo bound together with hemp, silk, or leather. Sometime between 618 and 907, the very first books were printed in China. They were made using a time-consuming method called woodblock printing, where the words are carved into wood and stamped onto pages. In the 1040s, a Chinese man named Bi Zheng invented movable type printing, which used pre-made character blocks made of ceramic or clay. This design would later be improved on by Johannes Gutenberg, who invented the printing press. This changed everything, because for the first time, books were mass-produced quickly. Before the printing press, people only copied a couple pages per day, but now thousands of pages could be produced. That means that books, and the incredible knowledge they can contain, became available for more and more people at cheaper and cheaper prices. Today, books are all made from using the same basic process. The words are printed on big sheets of paper, which are cut into smaller pages, double the length of a book. Those pages are then folded in half and sewn together. Finally, the sewn and folded pages are cut to final size and glued to the spine of the book's cover. Today, what we think of as a book is always changing. Ebooks, audiobooks, and other digital readers are becoming a bigger and bigger part of daily life. But most experts agree that physical, bound books will never go away completely.